Brutus, or Brute of Troy, is a legendary descendant of the Trojan hero Aeneas, known in medieval British legend as the eponymous founder and first king of Britain. This legend first appears in the Historia Britonum, an anonymous 9th-century historical compilation to which commentary was added by Nennius, but is best known from the account given by the 12th-century chronicler Geoffrey of Monmouth in his Historia Regum Britanniae.However, he is not mentioned in any classical text and is not considered to be historical. Historia Britonum. The Historia Britonum states that the island of Britain derives its name from Brutus, a Roman consul who conquered Spain. This is ultimately derived from Isidore of Seville's popular 7th-century work Etymologiae, in which it was speculated that Britain was named after the Roman general Decimus Junius Brutus Callaeacus, who pacified further Spain in 138 BC. A more detailed story, set before the foundation of Rome, follows, in which Brutus is the grandson or great-grandson of Aeneas, a legend that blends Isidore's spurious etymology with the Christian, pseudo-historical Table of Nations tradition that emerged in the early medieval European scholarly world and attempted to trace the peoples of the known world back to biblical ancestors. Following Roman sources such as Livy and Virgil, the Historia tells how Aeneas settled in Italy after the Trojan War, and how his son Ascanius founded Alba Longa, one of the precursors of Rome. Ascanius married, and his wife became pregnant. In a variant version, the father is Silvius, who is identified as either the second son of Aeneas previously mentioned in the Historia, or is the son of Ascanius. A magician, asked to predict the child's future, said it would be a boy and that he would be the bravest and most beloved in Italy. Enraged, Ascanius had the magician put to death. The mother died in childbirth. The boy, named Brutus, later accidentally killed his father with an arrow and was banished from Italy. After wandering among the islands of the Tyrrhenian Sea and through Gaul, where he founded the city of Tours, Brutus eventually came to Britain, named it after himself, and filled it with his descendants. His reign is synchronized to the time the high priest Eli was judge in Israel, and when the Ark of the Covenant was taken by the Philistines. A variant version of the Historia Britonum makes Brutus the son of Ascanius's son Silvius, and traces his genealogy back to Ham, son of Noah. Another chapter traces Brutus's genealogy differently, making him the great-grandson of the legendary Roman king Numa Pompilius, who was himself a son of Ascanius, and tracing his descent from Noah's son Japheth. These Christianizing traditions conflict with the classical Trojan genealogies, relating the Trojan royal family to Greek gods. Yet another Brutus, son of Isacian, son of Alanus, the first European, also traced back across many generations to Japheth, is referred to in the Historia Britonum. This Brutus's brothers were Francus, Alamanus and Romanus, also ancestors of significant European nations. Historia Regum Britanniae. Geoffrey of Monmouth's account tells much the same story, but in greater detail. In this version, Brutus is explicitly the grandson, rather than son, of Ascanius. His father is Ascanius's son Silvius, the magician who predicts great things for the unborn. Brutus also foretells he will kill both his parents. He does so, in the same manner described in the Historia Britonum, and is banished. Traveling to Greece, he discovers a group of Trojans enslaved there. He becomes the leader, and after a series of battles they defeat the Greek king Pandrasus by attacking his camp at night after capturing the guards. He takes him hostage and forces him to let his people go. He is given Pandrasus's daughter Agnoge in marriage, and ships and provisions for the voyage, and sets sail. The Trojans land on a deserted island and discover an abandoned temple to Diana. After performing the appropriate ritual, Brutus falls asleep in front of the goddess's statue and is given a vision of the land where he is destined to settle, an island in the Western Ocean inhabited only by a few giants. After some adventures in North Africa and a close encounter with the Sarians, Brutus discovers another group of exiled Trojans living on the shores of the Tyrrhenian Sea, led by the prodigious warrior Aeneas. In Gaul, Aeneas provokes a war with Geoffrey Pictus, king of Aquitaine, after hunting in the king's forests without permission. Brutus's nephew Turnus dies in the fighting, and the city of Tours is founded where he is buried. The Trojans win most of the battles but are conscious that the Gauls have the advantage of numbers, so go back to the ships and sail for Britain, then called Albion. They land on Totonisium Litis, the seacoast of Totnes. They meet the giant descendants of Albion and defeat them. Brutus renames the island after himself and becomes its first king. Aeneas becomes ruler of Cornwall, which is named after him. They are harassed by the giants during a festival, but kill all of them but the leader, the largest giant Guillaume, who is saved for a wrestling match against Aeneas. Aeneas throws him over a cliff to his death. Brutus then founds a city on the banks of the river Thames, which he calls Troia Nova, or New Troy. The name is in time corrupted to Trinovantum, and the city is later called London. He creates laws for his people and rules for 24 years. After his death he is buried in Trinovantum, and the island is divided between his three sons, Locrinus, Albinactus and Camba. Legacy. Early translations and adaptations of Geoffrey's Historia, such as Wace's Norman French Roman de Brut, Layamon's Middle English Brut, were named after Brutus, and the word Brut came to mean a chronicle of British history. One of several Middle Welsh adaptations was called the Brut-y Brenin, Brut-y Tywysogion, a major chronicle for the Welsh rulers from the 7th century to loss of independence. Is a purely historical work containing no legendary material, but the title reflects the influence of Geoffrey's work and, in one sense, can be seen as a sequel to it. Early chroniclers of Britain, such as Alfred of Beverley, Nicholas Trivet and Giraldus Cambrensis, began the histories of Britain with Brutus. The foundation myth of Brutus having settled in Britain was still considered as genuine history during the early modern period. For example, Holished's Chronicles considers the Brutus myth to be factual. The 18th century English poet Hildebrand Jacob wrote an epic poem, Brutus the Trojan, founder of the British Empire, about him. Following in the tradition of the Roman foundation epic the Aeneid, Geoffrey's Historia says that Brutus and his followers landed at Totnes in Devon. A stone on Fore Street in Totnes, known as the Brutus Stone, commemorates this.